by Karen Bender and Carrie Bruno. Um, Karen has a certificate in plant-based nutrition from Cornell, and Carrie is a PharmD. She's certified in lifestyle medicine as a specialist by the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. So we have a special demo for Middle Eastern cooking. So first of all, just to explain what the status is, 70% of the standard American diet is processed food, and 60% of middle and high schools sell soft drinks in vending machines. As a result, 1 in 3 Americans are obese, and in fact, 2 in 3 are overweight or obese, and 1 in 3 deaths from the top 10 causes can be traced to what we eat and drink in our unhealthy lifestyle. But we are here looking to make a change. More and more Americans are getting educated about nutrition research and gradually improving their dietary habits by adding the fibrous foods, fruits, vegetables, lentils, and beans and grains to their daily meals. And if you are one of those, we are here to help. So, this series of cooking classes is looking around the world for fresh ideas to incorporate more plants into our diet. You'll see others that are planned. So, this one, we focus on Middle Eastern cuisine, delight in new flavors, new spices such as sumac, mint, parsley, cumin, and turmeric, and make minor tweaks to update traditional recipes to modern nutritional science. So, just to explain a little bit about Salient Lifestyle Center, Salient is a lifestyle education center to restore people's total well being and help them live abundant life through evidence based lifestyle medicine. We follow the principles of American College of Lifestyle Medicine, which are mainly 6 pillars. These are evidence based: plant based diet, exercise and movement, healthy sleep, um, being present in the moment, mindfulness, staying calm, stress management, and also interpersonal relationships that are healthy. And as you see in this graphic, nutrition is first. And in the next graphic, which is a program we have done called Creation Life, nutrition is the culminating experience. So we are here to show you that nutrition is absolutely essential, the start and the finish of lifestyle medicine. So this class is presented by Salient Lifestyle Center in partnership with Plant-Based Nutrition Movement, which is a nonprofit organization of healthcare providers and community members that promotes lifestyle changes to improve the health of America. And you can find out more at facebook.com/PBNM and also follow their podcast as well, which you'll hear about towards the end. So let me start by asking, what's for dinner today?
Good food.
Middle
Eastern food.
Great.
So we'll go ahead and go through our menu.
Wonderful. Thank you so
much. We'll be ready to start. Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Garg.
you.
Appreciate everything that you do as well.
All right. So like Dr. Garg mentioned, today we are demoing Middle Eastern cuisine. We have 4 different recipes for you. First, we're going to start off with a Middle Eastern chickpea and tomato soup, followed by a hummus recipe with an Israeli chopped salad, and finally dessert, a no-bake brownie bite recipe. So many of you may be in a multitude of places on your journey to a plant-based lifestyle. Some might be plant-based and have been that way for a while. Some might not be so familiar. So some of you who may not be as familiar with a plant-based way of eating might say, okay, well, what foods do you eat? These are what we consider to be the plant-based, whole food plant-based food groups. So a wide range of fruits, a wide range of vegetables, plenty of whole grains, legumes and beans, nuts and seeds, and also spices and herbs are very important in plant-based food. In the standard American diet, a lot of our dishes are flavored with typically salt, fat, and sugar. And when you remove those from your foods, you really do need spices and herbs to kind of flavor and make it more appealing. So these are typically the food groups that are seen in the plant-based diet. Also, I will say mushrooms. Some people add that as a separate food group. Technically, they are fungi and not vegetables, so they deserve their own group. And we will transition to the first recipe.
All right. So again, welcome everybody, and thank you for coming. And it's very heartwarming to see this many people out to find out how to eat this way or make some changes or just find some little tweaks as well. So if you came for that reason, that's great. Or if you just came for the food, free food, that's good too, because you're gonna get to taste everything. So we're gonna start with their soup. I don't know if you could smell it already when you came in here. So I have some batches already made because I didn't want to do everything, and figure out how to get it all done in this time. But I'm going to do it in an Instant Pot. So are any of you familiar or use an Instant Pot already? So a few. Okay, that's good. Do any of you have an Instant Pot at home and it's still in the box? I figure there's usually a few people there too, because it looks pretty intimidating, but I have to tell you it's not. So when you look at it, and there's all these buttons, just ignore most of them because you don't really need all that. So those of you that have used it have probably figured that out already. So this is an 8-quart Instant Pot. I'm sure there's other brands as well, but I also have a 3-quart at home I call my baby. So that's how much I love my Instant Pot. I probably use it almost every day. So I use it for making oats, for cooking my own beans, for making stoops. That's good, soups. So we're going to open it up, and it's already hot. What I did is, in this recipe, don't get scared by all the ingredients. It looks like a lot, but I really do like simple foods. So the reason it's a vegetable soup, so at least 4 of those ingredients are vegetables, right? And a lot of them are spices. And these are some of the Middle Eastern spices that we're going to add to this vegetable tomato soup. So I'm going to go through the ingredients and how I put it together, and then we're going to do it. It's sort of 2 steps to make this. So the first step is done, and then we're going to add the second group of ingredients. So when I use my Instant Pot and I turn it on, I don't know if any of you do this as well, but there's a saute button down here, and I usually push the saute button, and it starts to warm up the pot because it will come to pressure faster if the ingredients are warm. And you can also saute your vegetables right in here. So what I did is I added a potato, 1 large potato, which is about 1.5 cups, half a cup of finely diced onion, 1/4 cup of diced celery, and 1/2 cup of chopped fresh parsley. That all went in. We could probably go to the next page too, or maybe go back and forth because it has how to do this. And then we put the spices in. So the spices that I used I started with cumin. So I wanted to show you these packages. So you can buy your spices in little amounts, which is also good for keeping them fresh. But I also found that if I go to the Indian or Asian sections in the grocery store or at an Indian market, there's one right around the corner from me called Bombay Mart, and they have wonderful spices that you can get for probably half of what you'd spend in a regular little, container. So I brought those just to show you. So I added 2 teaspoons of ground cumin, a teaspoon of ground coriander, 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric. I have my turmeric here too. And I will mention that this is something that if any of you are familiar with Dr. Greger, who runs the nutritionfacts.org, some of you are shaking your heads, and he says you should have 1/4 teaspoon of this every day to reduce your inflammation. So that's nice that it's in here. And then I use smoked paprika. So I have that somewhere here too. So this can be kind of expensive ingredient, but I found Trader Joe's was a really decent price. So I kind of brought that to show you as well. And if you aren't familiar with that too, it gives everything a really umami flavor. The original recipe called for saffron in here, but that's really expensive, and that's not something most people have in their cabinet. So I did the smoked paprika instead. So all that is in here, closed it up. And of course, I don't usually do it backwards, right? So is it going to work? Anyway, there it is. Close it up tight. So for any of you that aren't familiar with this, it won't open. And once the pressure comes on, it definitely won't open this way. So it's very safe. And then I just push the manual button down here, or maybe it says pressure cook on some of the newer ones. I've had this one for a while, and I want 7 minutes. So in a little bit, it's going to beep and say it's on. And then in a little, once it gets hot and comes to pressure, you'll hear another couple beeps, and then it starts counting down. Once it counts down, it'll go to warm. So that's why you can use this and turn it on, go take a shower, walk your dog, do yoga, call your mother, I don't know, whatever you need to do. And you don't have to worry about it burning or, you know, we're leaving something on the stove. So that's my favorite part of the Instant Pot. So when it's done, turn it off. And if you can either let it come down naturally, so there's a little button, you can't probably see it up here, but there's a little button that pops up. When it's done, it'll come down. It means it's done. So when it's finished, then you will open it up. Or if you're in a hurry, you can also release. I should mention there's a little button up here that you make sure is in the right position. And then you release it, the steam all comes up. You know it's safe to open it. Open it up, and this is a nice way to hold the lid too. So that's the first part of making the soup. And then the second part of the soup is we're going to add 1 3/4 cup of crushed tomatoes. I've already measured it out. You can use diced tomatoes if you don't have the crushed tomatoes. You know, that's fine too. I used these organic fire roasted crushed tomatoes, which are really, really yummy. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice to it. Then I'm going to add a couple pinches of cayenne pepper. It's not too spicy, so if any of you are worried about that, I'm just put a little bit in there. And then I'm going to put in a teaspoon of something called sumac. So I've got that there. Oh, I forgot the beans. Wait a minute, the most important thing. Before I do that, I forgot to tell you there are beans in here as well, the chickpeas. So here's the sumac, and we're going to talk more about chickpeas. We got lots to say about chickpeas. But this is the sumac. If you've never tried it, it has a very lemony taste to it. So it's nothing scary, not spicy or anything like that. So I'm going to put that in. And I also bought this at the Indian market. I also saw it at Butera near my house in Algonquin too. So don't buy it at a regular grocery store because you'll pay a lot. I think it was $10 for a little thing like this versus like $5. So it's a great addition. And we're going to sprinkle a little bit on top of the soup when we serve it as well. So I am just going to mix this up. And then the last step that we do is, and again, if you want your soup chunky, you can just leave it like this. Or I'm going to take an immersion blender and just do a couple of quick pulses so that we can get it to just be a little bit pureed. This is a great gadget if you don't have one of these. I used to take my soups and put it in my blender and then put it in another pot, and it's a mess, right? So if they're not, this is not very expensive either. And I think I've had this for probably 15 years or more. So I'm just going to do a couple of pulses like that, just enough to kind of thicken it and have a little bit of that. So if you don't have one of these, you can do it in a blender. You can take out just a couple cups of it and put it in your blender and put it back in. You can take a potato masher, mash up a little bit. You know, soup is very forgiving. So if you don't have the exact ingredients, it's not like baking. It's really fine. It's going to come out. It's going to come out okay. So that is pretty much the soup that we're going to eat today and taste. All right. Oh, and we should mention, did we mention about the recipes being available? Did we mention that yet?
I believe there's a QR code at the end of the presentation that you can use to get a PDF of all of the recipes.
Okay. And we'll be able to answer any other questions as well. So I'm going to shift this.
Okay.
Get that out of the way. Okay. And we will get ready for recipe 2.
I want to talk about the sumac.
Oh yeah, the sumac. Talk about that too before we put that away. Let me get some of this out of the way. So I mentioned sumac, but I do have more to say about it. I have more to say about a lot of things. So I just have to remember to say them. So it is a very popular spice. When I told my brother I was making a soup with sumac, he said, "You're going to poison me?" Because there is a poisonous sumac. And I said, "No, I promise, I'm not poisoning anybody." The poisonous shrub is white, and we're using a red sumac, which is very safe. So again, it adds color. I think I mentioned it tastes like lemon. If you don't have sumac, you can also use something called za'atar, which I got this from the Spice House, and it has sumac in it along with some other very interesting things. I think thyme, oregano, sesame seeds, hyssop. Okay, so anyway, this is another Middle Eastern spice that you can use as well. Okay, so we're good. I'll clean this up and we'll get ready for chickpeas. Okay. Okay. Oh, speak louder? Okay, you have to use my teacher voice. Sorry. Okay. So I did mention that there are chickpeas in there, and there's chickpeas in 3 out of the 4 recipes that we're making today. And I just got, I opened my email this morning, and I get recipes, right, through my emails. And I think out of the first 6 recipes I looked at, 4 of them had chickpeas in them. So they are really catching on. So it's a very high protein legume. It originates from the Middle East and Mediterranean areas, 7,500 years old, and it has now spread, everywhere. I think most people are pretty familiar with chickpeas and hummus, at least. We see there's a lot of protein, dietary fiber, folate, and other minerals, as well as zinc, thiamine, vitamin B6, and magnesium. So I brought some. I can show you. This is what they look like dried. Again, the recipe that I did with the soup, I used canned chickpeas, but you certainly can cook your own and use that. And I think even in the recipe, it'll tell you if you want to just put these in the soup, how to cook it directly as well without cooking them first. Okay.
So what are some other benefits of eating chickpeas, you might ask? So here are a couple. So they have great anti-cancer benefits. They are full of nutrient-dense carbohydrates that digest slowly. This helps to stabilize blood sugar. And they also contain higher levels of fiber and resistant starch. Now, this fiber and resistant starch, when it gets into your intestines, the bacteria will ferment it and produce fatty acids, which are beneficial and anti-cancer promoting. So it's beneficial to eat fiber, and chickpeas are definitely full of fiber. So eating legumes at least twice per week may actually cut the risk of colon cancer in half. They also have cardiovascular benefits. So they lower the risk for many diseases such as high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and cholesterol. So I mentioned before that they have carbohydrates that digest slowly, which helps stabilize the blood sugar level. But also for cholesterol, when your body produces cholesterol, or you take in too much cholesterol from foods, it releases it into your intestines, and fiber helps bind it and eliminate it. So including plenty of fiber in your diet will also help lower your cholesterol. And in doing that, it also lowers your risk for heart disease and stroke. So very beneficial. One warning I will say is if you're not used to eating this way, plenty of fruits and vegetables and beans, they have a lot of fiber. And if you're not used to eating a lot of fiber, starting with a small amount and working your way up will help. It can cause some GI, discomfort and gas. So starting small and working your way up can be beneficial in many ways.
Okay, and then, so I mentioned hummus, which is going to be our next recipe that we're going to make, and as well as the soup that we made, chilies, salads. Just opening up a can and putting it on your salad is just going to up it, 100%. It also can be ground into flour. So I just brought a kind of a sample there. You can see you can make cookies out of those. You can also roast the chickpeas, if any of you, either in the oven or the air fryer, put some seasoning on them, and they make a delicious snack, or again, to top salads with. So there's just many different ways to use chickpeas. And then there's this new thing called aquafaba. Well, it's not new. It's been there forever when you cook chickpeas, but it's become really popular. And that's the bean water, literally from cooking the chickpeas, or opening the can, you'll see the liquid that's in there, and it can be whipped up and made into like a whipped cream or a meringue. I use it to coat my vegetables. So when I open a can or I cook some chickpeas, I use a ice cube tray, and I put some of the aquafaba in there and freeze it in little cubes. So if I just need a little bit of it to put on my broccoli before I put it in my oven or air fryer, it gives it a nice coating. So it's useful, and I feel like a little extra nutrition as well.
And another thing I just realized, they also make pasta out of chickpeas as well.
Oh, that's right.
So that is a great substitute for traditional white flour pasta. Right. Doesn't really, texture-wise, I don't think taste much different if it's cooked.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. And there's a great no tuna salad recipe. Some of you that are plant-based probably already make that, but I bring it to a lot of potlucks and things, and it's made with the chickpeas. If you go to Forks Over Knives and put in no tuna salad, you'll see that recipe. It's really easy to make.
And I have aquafaba in the hummus, or I have it to use to thin it out, so we'll cover that a little bit more. But some facts about hummus. Where did it originate? Well, we really don't know. There's varying opinions, but based on historical information, it likely originated in Egypt and dates back to the 13th century. It's actually been adopted as an unofficial national dish of Israel. And according to a survey that we found from 2016, more than 90% of Israelis eat hummus at least once a week. Most of them, according to this survey, buy it at a store, but I'm sure a large percentage of them also make it at home. So it is definitely common in Israeli and just in the Middle East in general. And so moving on to the hummus.
Hopefully that's it.
Yes, I think that's all of it, yes. Okay. So we have a bowl. And I have the chickpeas already cooked. I actually used dried chickpeas and cooked them in the Instant Pot. One tip I will give you is when you're making a dish, a savory dish that already has like onions and garlic, you can cook your chickpeas with onions and garlic in the Instant Pot, and that gives it a lot of extra flavor. So I took the dry chickpeas, I cut up, I made quite a bit of chickpeas, so I cut up like a whole onion and then a couple cloves of garlic, minced that up, and put it in the Instant Pot before I cook the chickpeas, and that helps a lot to enhance the flavor. So we've got the chickpeas, and then we have some cloves of garlic, 3 minced up, and then we've got some tamari, a little dash of tamari. And we need the masher.
Is that part of your pepper too?
Yeah. All right, and I am going to mash these up rather than you can use a food processor or you can use a blender. I think if you cook the chickpeas well enough, you can definitely mash them. I believe these were cooked about 40 to 42 minutes to make sure that they are mashable. And it definitely turns out well. But if you don't want to use a masher, you can always use a food processor if you have one. If you don't have a food processor, this is an easy alternative. One other thing, it definitely requires a little bit of work if you're mashing.
That's why it helps to overcook them a little
yes,
bit. Yes,
it does.
You're going to make hummus with it.
Yes. Okay. And if you use a blender, you're probably gonna end up making a really fine or thin hummus. But you can also, if you like it on the thicker side or the chunkier side, mixing it like this is great. You have a little bit more texture. Okay. So then we are going to add the lemon juice. So 2 medium lemons juiced. And then we have the tahini. This is the jar of tahini. If you're not familiar with it, it is a paste made out of sesame seeds ground up. So we will add 3/4 of a cup of that.
And Carrie, while you're doing that, may I ask you, why is there not olive oil on the list for the
Yes, so olive oil is a food or something we try to steer away from in plant-based eating. It is very, it lacks nutrients and has a lot of calories. So we try to minimize it as much as possible. It also is very inflammatory in your body. So another reason to minimize it or to cut it out completely. And for most dishes, you don't even really miss it. In this dish, you definitely don't.
The tahini, the sesame seed, is giving you that natural oil.
Exactly.
So you don't need any more than that.
So we have the tahini, and then we add some parsley, which is in here. And then we've got some the scallions. And then we have some black pepper.
It's right here.
Oh, okay. Black pepper and cayenne. So you can add as much or as little black pepper as you would like. I like things a little bit spicier and pepperier, but if you don't like that, then you can adjust as you see fit. And cayenne, just a little dash will do. Okay.
And you can really, while you're mixing, I'll just say, you can add any kind of spices that you want to this. Look, move over, maybe close to my friend here. Last night I took some Cajun seasoning and mixed it in with some hummus, thinned it out a little bit, and it became a coating on top of some potatoes or on a salad. So I've also put Italian seasoning, Greek seasoning, I mean, whatever flavors you want. And there's probably, 100 different recipes for hummus, as well. So you can do it to your own liking.
Okay. So this is a little bit thicker. I did bring some of the aquafaba that I got after cooking the chickpeas. This is a little thick because I ended up cooking it twice just to make sure these were soft enough to mash. I did try this at home to add a little bit, and it does make it smoother. So it's not quite as thick, especially since we're mixing it by hand. But rather than using water to thin it out, definitely use this. It's got the flavor from the beans and the onions and the garlic that I used to cook them in. So definitely adds a lot of extra flavor and thins it out a little bit. So this is the hummus.
And it's on there, it's on your table
Yes,
right now. So
cups.
if you've been wondering what that is, it's not just a centerpiece. You may help yourself to some hummus and some veggies to munch on while we finish the demo. So I've also added olives to mine, basil, spinach. I've used black beans instead of garbanzo beans. I mean, I've had salsa. Really, just go with it. All kinds of ideas. And my lunch today was a muffin with an English muffin, whole grain English muffin with hummus and a little avocado and some sprouts on top. So, and that's our favorite meal, is making it into a wrap as well. So many things to do with it.
And if you buy store-bought hummus, they even make dessert hummus, so sweet ones rather than savory. So there's a wide variety of different types of hummus. One thing I will say, before I started eating plant-based and even after, I tried multiple hummuses. I tried buying store-bought. I tried a couple recipes, and I just did not like it. So it might take a couple times to find one that you love. I happen to love this recipe, and I've modified it a little bit to my taste preferences. But try this one, or try any hummus recipe. It might not be your favorite on the first try, but modify things if you need to. And I'm sure you'll find one that you like if you give a couple recipes a try. Now I love hummus, and I eat it on so many different things, or, that is my lunch some days.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
And if you do buy it at the store, I know that Woodman sells a brand, an Oasis brand, and it has no oil in it. Yeah. So you do have to kind of read the labels if you are really wanting to cut out that oil, there's maybe some other brands. That's the one I'm most familiar with. And maybe someone else has found another one as well.
And also, if you do buy a store-bought and it doesn't have as much flavor as you would like, you can always touch it up and add some more seasonings and add stuff to it to make it your own.
Yeah, you can also freeze it too.
Yeah.
So if you make this big batch, or Carrie's going to go home maybe with that batch, and if you can't eat it by yourself, it's going to go, you can freeze it so you can pull it out at any time.
And moving on to the salad. So we have our big
sorry.
bowl. Oh, that's okay.
Put that in the middle.
Put it in the middle. Okay. So we are going to start with a bunch of vegetables.
So this is also called a Jerusalem chopped salad. So you might see it either way.
Okay. So we start with some cucumber. This is this is one whole cucumber. It's an English cucumber, so they're the really, really long ones. And then I have some red onions. I know not everybody likes raw red onions. I happen to be one of those people. So I dice them up really fine in the hopes that when you mix it all together, they're not too overpowering.
I can take that if you want to just do
perfect. And then we have some garlic, which is here. And then we've got some tomatoes which are over here.
Peppers. I'll be your sous chef here now.
Yes, peppers.
Red peppers or different colored peppers.
Have, the red and the yellow.
And your parsley is next.
Perfect. Parsley. And then some mint. All finely diced, finely chopped. And then we've got some lemon juice.
And your vinegar.
And the vinegar, yes. So red wine vinegar, we do a teaspoon. Okay. And then we have the chickpeas. I cooked these separately than the ones that I used for the hummus, partly because these don't have to be as soft and they hold up a little bit better in the salad if they are a little more firm. So I think I cooked these for maybe 37 to 39 minutes, so not quite as long.
And you'll see some traditional recipes for chopped salad do not have chickpeas in it. You can just leave the chickpeas out and it's kind of a side vegetable salad or dish, but this makes it more of a full meal.
Yep. And then lastly, I added some lemon zest and just kind of mix it all together. It's very colorful. We say eating plant-based, eat the rainbow. This is definitely the rainbow.
It's beautiful.
It's got pretty much every color but blue. I realized that last night. I don't know what you would add to make it blue because there's really only like blueberries and most of those are sweet. But it's definitely the rainbow. Purple cabbage,
cabbage.
That would be a great addition.
Good idea. So the spices that are in here are very similar to what you might have heard of tabbouleh. Which is also very much like this. The only difference is it has, this Bulgar wheat in it. So that is the base for tabbouleh, but really it's almost the same. So you could add that to the same recipe in place of the chickpeas or even in addition to it. And that would really cover everything.
Yeah.
So and typically this recipe is made with olive oil. So again, we're trying to tweak these so that we can enjoy all the same foods and the same flavor in just a very healthful way. That looks really, that smells
One
so
of the
good.
things that it recommends in the recipe is to make this in advance and then let it sit. So I made a big batch last night and I taste tested a little bit of it this morning and the flavors definitely do. If you allow them time to mix, it tastes a lot better. So make this ahead of time. At least the recipe says an hour. I made it and let it sit overnight. So even better if you can let it sit that long and let all the flavors kind of mix together. And then we have a little bit of information on dates.
On dates. Okay, we're getting ready to everybody's favorite part of the meal is dessert. So just because you eat plant-based doesn't mean you have to give up all that sweet stuff. We just do it in a little different way. So people in the Middle East have been eating dates for over 6,000 years, so we're really going far back. What's most common are the medjool dates, which I have here. This is, I don't know if you can see through here. I'm going to be pulling them out in a minute, but they're the bigger ones. There's also something called deglet nor. Those are the most common. There's probably other ones that you can find in the grocery stores as well. But they're very high in a lot of micronutrients. It's all up there on the screen, so I'll let you just read that. But they are high in fiber. So, when you use sugar and use other sweeteners, you're not getting any of these nutrients and you're not getting all of these, all this fiber. So that's why a lot of the plant-based cooking replaces the sweetness with the dates. And they are sweet and they are sticky. But they're also made into date paste. You can make your own date paste or date syrup, but I found here's a couple different brands that I have found that I've used in other recipes, not this one today. And there's also date sugar, which is nothing but ground up dates. So, I like to think everything that I put in my mouth is going to do something good for me. So I feel pretty good about using that as a sweetener as well.
And so there are more benefits to eating dates. They are rich in antioxidants. This helps protect against oxidative stress and inflammation that's in the body, which is why it is beneficial for high blood pressure and high cholesterol. There's actually a study that we found from the year 2000 showing that dates actually improved your serum triglycerides, which is the fat level in your blood, and oxidative stress. So even though they have a high sugar content, like Karen said, they have fiber along with it. So it didn't negatively affect the blood sugar or blood fat levels, which makes it helpful for preventing like plaque buildup and many of the conditions that I mentioned earlier. So definitely a great substitute for some of the refined sugars that you might use in recipes. And then
so now I need my processor for this. It does look like I like appliances, right? It's true. So this particular appliance takes me back about 35 years. That's why it looks a little bit discolored here, but this has lasted all this time. And I remember getting it as a birthday gift. And I know people say, oh, don't give things like that, for birthday gifts. You have to give something personal. Not me. You can give me an appliance anytime that you want. I was very excited about this, and it has lasted me all of this time for sure. We all plugged in? Mm-hmm. So this particular recipe, you do need a food processor to make, but I do have a bonus recipe that wasn't on our menu that if you don't have a food processor, I'll still show you a way that you can enjoy dates. So we're going to start with a cup and a half of pitted dates. When you buy them at the grocery store, some are pitted, some are not. Definitely make sure you know which kind you have before you put them in, but they're very easy to open up and take the pit out. So these are these nice big medjool dates. So it's about 11 or 12 of them. I'm going to dump them in here. They have really nice organic dates at Costco. Great place to find those. Then I'm going to add half a cup of raisins. So we'll put those in there. And I have a cup of oats. These are gluten-free oats, so if anybody has that sensitivity, not to worry. Oats are generally gluten-free, but sometimes there's some cross-contamination, so if you're particularly sensitive, you have to kind of watch for that, but these should be good. I have 2 tablespoons of pumpkin seeds. These are the raw pumpkin seeds. If you don't have those or can't find them, these are from Trader Joe. I should work there, really. I should. But you could use sunflower seeds or sesame seeds or anything else that you'd want to add. There's a 1/4 cup of cacao powder. I'm just going to show that here. So this is the cacao powder. Oh, again, it says Trader Joe. How about that? It's very similar to cocoa powder, but it's raw, so it hasn't been processed. So they say it's a little higher in the nutrients, and again, not processed. But cocoa powder, in a pinch, works just fine. And then we're going to add a little pinch of salt, not much. Well, you can see most of the things we've done don't have salt in it, so that's in a little bit of vanilla. And I'm going to blend that up. Do we have the directions up there? I think I was supposed to do part of it first and then the rest, but you know what? It'll be fine. Let me make sure this is on here. Okay, don't fail me after 35 years today, right? Okay, a little noisy, but it's going to start getting crumbly. And then eventually it's going to form a ball. Well, that's the crumbly part. Okay, hang in there a little bit longer. Yep, almost there. You know what? Right before it's finished here, I'm going to open it up again. And I'm going to add a little extra chocolate chips, because why not, right? And these are non-dairy, allergy-free chocolate chips, also from Trader Joe's. But there is another brand called Enjoy Life that you can get in other places as well. So we'll get that. So now it's going to get just a little bit louder. Oh, I think we got it. Okay. So take it out. I don't know. Can you see that on the screen there? How it looks? Oh, it smells really good. So then what you do with these, I'm just going to make one. The rest of them I've made with clean hands that you're going to get served today, but I'll just make one and show you. So you just take a little bit and roll it into a ball, and there's your brownie bite, just like that. So these, I keep them in the refrigerator because they're kind of sticky, so they just work that well, or you can freeze them. So when I make a double, triple, a quadruple batch for this, and then put them in the freezer, and then either because you want to save them for another time or to hide them so that you don't eat all of them at once. I mean, whatever works for you is good. So, so that's the date balls. So we'll make the rest of those into that.
Okay. And then we have some other references that we used.
Oh,
but
you know
then,
what? I was going to mention my other ones, which I don't have to show you.
Oh, I think they're in the fridge.
Those?
I will go.
So if you don't have a processor and you really want to leave this tonight and you say, I'm going to try dates, I want to see what I can do with them. What I've done is I've taken the date, cut it open, and filled it with almond butter. So, whoop, come on, I'm coming over here. Okay. So filled them with almond butter and then one little chocolate chip just to make them pretty and that. And these are very sweet and very satisfying. So, you finish a meal and you're like, oh, I really want something else. This will do it for you. Just one or two, and for at least for me, good to go. So that's another option. And the one other thing, this is another bonus here I'll give you. So I discovered a caramel sauce where you take the dates. Let's see, I have a cup of dates, vanilla, a half a teaspoon vanilla, quarter teaspoon salt, a half a cup of unsweetened almond or soy milk, and 3/4 cup water. Blend that up so it makes like a caramel sauce. Throw some chopped peanuts in it, maybe some chopped chocolate if you really want to do that too. Dip your apples in it, and you've got a taffy apple dip. So this was a sauce on top of an apple cake that I found. So I thinned it out. I mean, I made it not quite so thin. And I haven't had taffy apples since being plant-based. It just wasn't something that I've done. Well, I've discovered that I think we've had them every night this week. But those good fresh fall apples, dip it into that caramel with the peanuts, like gourmet taffy apple. I mean, you can't get much better than that. So, so that's the other thing I wanted to just let you know about.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we have a QR code here if you would like to get any of the recipes that we featured. I'll give you some time to take a picture of that. Unplug this. Okay, perfect. The cups is the hummus with, the veggies. Okay. All right.
And the recipes I can show you while you're doing that too.
Great.
If you want to, when you download that, the recipes are going to look like this. And again, all of our recipes you can print it out and have a little Middle Eastern cookbook.
Perfect. All right. So moving along, we have a little bit of information about our organization that we are both a part of, Plant-Based Nutrition Movement. So at Plant-Based Nutrition Movement, our mission is we're dedicated to providing communities and individuals with resources to support them on whatever part of the journey they're on to a whole food plant-based lifestyle. We really believe that this is the only way of eating that helps to prevent and reverse chronic diseases, and to support a healthier planet. So we are trying to meet people where they are and help them along their transition. We have a couple of upcoming events that we are wanting to share with you. If you want to talk about EDA.
We have a monthly online through Zoom support group. We call it A Delicious Adventure. Started by Meryl over there, our president of PBNM. And it's usually the fourth Thursday at 7 o'clock. You can find the link to it on our website. And then you'll sign up through Eventbrite, I believe, and all, how that works. And upcoming this October 25th, we're just going to talk about Halloween and how to reimagine it in a healthy way. And November 22nd, we're going to again talk about holidays, because that's always tricky when it comes to food and family and what to eat and how to eat it and how to satisfy everyone. So that's our adventure.
And then we also have a couple of other projects that we have recently undertaken. 6 Million Seeds is a large project with multiple parts. One of the parts being a podcast that Meryl and I are co-hosts for. It is focused on child nutrition, and we our audience for that is any adults. So parents, caregivers, educators, healthcare professionals, anyone who has a say in how children eat. We want to get this message out to them and show them that it starts early. If you change kids' flavor preferences and eating flavor profiles, and their eating habits will change early on, and they will avoid all of the chronic illnesses that we see in adults. And it's easier to get them on board the younger they are, to get them eating healthier from the start. So that is the podcast. And we also we are promoting a decade of child nutrition coming up starting in 2023. We want a committed 10-year focus to reaching children and promoting them eating healthier. So we have a kickoff summit coming up at the beginning of December. There's a link to it here, and it is a live virtual 4-day event. We have about 11 speakers and presenters. We are going to be doing interviews, cooking demos, and presentations. And these speakers are internationally known experts in the areas of child nutrition, culinary arts, and planetary health. So we are very excited about it. You can check out the link below and register for that. We would love to see you there. And I believe that is it. So if you would like to contact any of us, we have our information here. We have recipes and our newsletter, all of our podcast links and various events, and plenty of resources on our website. So if you'd like to get in touch with us, that is a way to do that. And then the next cooking demo will be next month.
Thank you. You know what? Before I talk about that, I would just like to invite Meryl to introduce herself as the president of PBNM. It'll just be a minute. Please sit.
Thanks, Dr. Garg.
Come on in a little bit. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Intimate setting here. My name is Meryl Fury. I am a registered nurse, and I have the absolute pleasure of being the president and CEO of Plant-Based Nutrition Movement. It is my joy, my absolute joy, to spend 15 to 18 hours a day doing this. I get to work with these lovely people and promote health and right now, like Carrie was saying, specifically in children. We find that to be absolutely critical. Is this really working? It is. Okay. All right. Specifically in children, because what we see in children, and Dr. Garg, you can tell the story, the ever increasing rate and trend of children being diagnosed with diabetes and high blood pressure, obesity, into heart disease. We see childhood cancers, and so much of that could be prevented, A, reversed, B, or certainly treated well by a whole food plant-based diet that eliminates the processed foods and the animal products and things that just sit in the body and putrefy and cause disease. So that is, can I say that's my jam? That's what I do. I love it. And we're so grateful to have everybody here. And thank you for inviting me up.
Thank you, Meryl. Thank you. So, what Meryl was talking about is primordial prevention, which is preventing even before the disease becomes manifest, which is the goal of PBNM and what we do as well. So, I just wanted to tell you about the programs we have coming up. So, one is this cooking dinner, which Sharmila she is trained as a Food for Life instructor with PCRM. So, she's going to give us an Indian recipe as well as some others from PCRM. PCRM is Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. Thank you. And it was founded by Neil Barnard in Washington, D.C. I believe they're going on roughly 30 to 35 years. So they have started a long time ago. And the nice thing is they have an international reach, including the Hispanic American community, the Indian community, Native American, African American. So they are very multicultural and diverse.
And Sharmila's on our board too.
Sharmila's on the PBNM board. Yeah, thank you. And so the next program, this program is running right now. It's from Full Plate Living. The program is called Are You Eating Enough to Lose Weight? The idea is simple. There's two principles. Number one is 3/4 of your plate should be fibrous and 1/4 everything else. And the other rule is to get to 40 grams a day of fiber. Most Americans hardly reach 10 grams a day. The USDA recommends minimum of 20. However, we recommend 40 for optimal health. And so this is, this is a great beginner program for anyone shifting along the continuum to plant-based diet. And we have a showing you'll see on our website of Salient Center, Disease Reversal Hope, which is from Porges Foundation. And we hope you will join us. Of course, you can watch it streaming at home, but it is more fun to watch with friends. And also, we will have a question and answer session afterwards. And then this program is very unique. Dr. Nedley's Depression and Anxiety Recovery Program. So normally this program, if you were to do a retreat, it would cost over $10,000. We are doing it free here at Salient Center, and you can look up the dates on our Facebook page and on our Eventbrite. And so we will have this QR code for you, salient.eventbrite.com, where you can register for it. And so as you know, depression is not just about quote unquote serotonin deficiency or a deficiency of medications. It really goes deep down into one's psyche. And this program is focused on also healthy lifestyle changes and a description of how the brain works, how the frontal lobe works, about sleep health. So really getting to the root. So we're not looking to duplicate the psychotherapist. What we're looking to do is give way more than just psychotherapy, meaning than just psychotherapy would do, getting to the root cause. So it's not meant to replace. So again, our websites are salient.eventbrite.com and facebook.com/salient center. So again, thank you to Karen and Carrie from PBNM for giving this amazing presentation. And thank you again for everyone here for coming to Salient Center and enjoying a lovely dinner with us.
So we have time for questions now too. So
And I'm here
Dr.
also.
Garg, stay here.
Yeah.
You can ask any of us any questions that you might have.
What's your position on plant-based?
So I can start. Okay, so yeah, what
is
our
the position on
plant-based
plant-based meats? Yes.
So I will say, when you're transitioning to a plant-based diet, someone who isn't familiar or is just starting out, those are a great alternative to avoid meats and animal products. They're not necessarily the healthiest form. They are still highly processed. So in moderation, yes. Eventually, as you're getting to a whole food plant-based diet, 100%, I personally don't eat any of them, but in moderation, and when you're trying to reduce your animal product consumption, then yes, those are great options.
So I would just add that the nice thing is there are so many healthy options for plant-based meat. So the old school one that we remember from the 70s is textured vegetable protein, which was the originator of plant-based meats. And also they come in chunks for more chunky dishes. And then there's soy curls from Butler Foods. There's taco crumbles you can buy from Butler Foods. So those are the healthier ones that can be prepared fat-free. And then the next step is processed foods that are convenience foods. Like, for example, the Boca burger is about 80 calories, the original Boca vegan burger. And it doesn't have any oil. And then I would say then there's the Gardein products, which have some oil, but they're still relatively low calorie, except the fried ones. And then the worst of the worst, I would say, are the fatty patties. So beyond and impossible. Because when you cook them, literally a bunch of coconut oil comes out, which is pure saturated fat. And so we recommend to stay away from those. I think you'd agree. Yeah, thank you. So there's a hierarchy. But yeah, those are, let's say, fun foods. And let's say choose the ones that I mentioned first to get that meaty flavor.
Yeah, and
Thank
one
you.
thing I can add, personally, I eat a lot of tofu and tempeh. If you don't have a soy allergy, that's another way that you can season it and flavor it similar to how you would meat. I actually put a little liquid smoke on mine, and it flavor and smell wise, it tastes great. So that's another option. And you
Absolutely.
can add it to so many different recipes.
And if you're not allergic to wheat, there is seitan that's made from wheat gluten. It's pure protein as an option.
Good question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Question. Any other questions? Other than when do we get to eat?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so
All right.
if there's no other
Okay.
questions, then bon appetit.
Yeah,
Enjoy
so
your dinner.
we will be we'll be serving you your next course. We'll get some soup out to you and salad and your dessert. It's a taste. It's a mini dinner.
Yes, hello to everyone joining us live. Thank you for joining us. And if you're watching the recording, thank you also for watching the recording.